First October cold front of the year, first sit of the year for me. There's a 170-inch buck headed my way, and I'm in complete shock. So this is my 5th season hunting in the state of Iowa. Moved here 5 years ago. I've been lucky to chase some incredible whitetails the past couple years and been even more fortunate to wrap my tag around some great bucks. Heading into 2023, I had some great bucks on camera I had been keeping tabs on throughout the summer. So the first buck, super big, clean 10-pointer. This buck showed up early August, massive frame, long tines, just everything you want in a clean, typical whitetail. We had a buck called Freak Buck. This buck was living on the same farm as the Big Ten. Didn't have any history with either of these two deer. I just knew this is an old warrior. This buck's been around for a long time and a deer that I wanted to put a lot of time and energy into. So as far as huntable ground in Iowa, I don't own any pieces. I end up leasing a couple pieces here and there every year. Hunt a ton of public land, try my best to get on some permission ground as much as possible, and just really network, trying to find more and more ground every single year. So this season was really exciting for me. I had finally locked down a really solid piece of ground that I ended up leasing. I'd been pouring a ton of sweat equity into it, hanging tree stands, setting up the reveals, just really trying to figure out what these deer do so I can make a game plan as we get closer to fall.
I'm excited to introduce a brand new Deer Society video series called The Art of Deer Hunting. Now within this series we have categories such as the art of calling, the art of food plots, the art of scent control. We're going to detail and break down all things in these categories plus more, from trail cameras, stands, scrapes, all things related to successful deer hunting is what this series is all about. This series is a culmination of all the information we've received internally from some of the best deer hunters across the country and the methods they've used to successfully harvest mature whitetails year after year. This is called The Art of Deer Hunting on the Deer Society YouTube channel.
So heading into the 2023 season, I had high hopes. I knew that I was gonna be into some big deer this year. I'd finally picked up a lease that I knew was in the right spot and it's where I needed to be. So summer flies by, I'm getting all my prep done, stuff's ready to go on these pieces, and I have a pretty good idea on what bucks I'm gonna target. So now we're into the second week of September. I get a phone call from a landowner that I previously leased from the year prior. It says, "Hey Jonah, I just wanted to let you know I'm gonna put the farm up for sale after hunting season. If possible, can you go run some cameras on it for me, get some photos, and if there's a buck that gets you excited, you're more than welcome to get on that piece and go after him." We get off the phone, I'm incredibly excited. I grab my backpack, fill it up with reveals. I know I'm headed south. I want to get on that farm, get cameras out, and get some intel going right away. All I can think about is one deer in specific named Beefcake. Beefcake was a homebody last year. I had a ton of trail cam pictures of him throughout the season. Just didn't spend a lot of time hunting this deer. I'd found one of his sheds during shed season. Just a big, gnarly bully. Didn't have a ton of headgear, but it was a deer that I thought could blow up and have huge potential coming into 2023. So this late in September, this close to the season, I really didn't want to run up in the timber and just start throwing cameras out. That just doesn't make sense. I don't want to put any pressure on these deer. As of right now, they've had no pressure all summer long. I put these cameras specifically on the bean field edges, heavily used trails coming from bedding to food, and I even put 2 cameras on some mock scrapes that I made with the raw frozen scents and lures. So a couple days go by now. I'm really not getting that many pictures on this farm. There's not a ton of deer here right now. and just no sign of a mature buck or beefcake. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get a reveal notification, open it, and here he is, an absolute slob 11-pointer. This buck is an absolute giant. He's got great mass that carries all the way through his beams. He's got a 5-point side and a 6-point side, just everything you could dream of in an Iowa whitetail. So I'm jumping up and down, all excited, another buck that I have the potential to target. And I look back at trail cam pics from 2022 and I'm like, what deer is this? I have no idea what deer this could possibly be. And I'm going through my photos and I got nothing. So I come to the conclusion that this deer's just here hanging out right now. Like, I've never had a picture of him, no history at all. I need to make a game plan, get on this deer before he decides, hey, I'm dipping out of here, I'm headed towards my rut range for November. So every couple days I'm getting a photo of this buck. He's in daylight a little bit here and there, mostly at night though, and we're right up on the edge of October now. October 1 comes in, weather is absolutely terrible, high temperatures, just not ideal for mature buck movement. I'm looking ahead at the extended forecast and I see October 5, October 6, October 6 when this massive cold front's coming in. We have a 15-20 degree drop in temperature, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds with 25 mile an hour gusts, barometric pressures on the rise, just everything you want to see for mature buck movement. So October 6th, we're to the day now. I know I'm going hunting today, first sit of the year for me, cold front's moving in, and the anticipation is building. So I know I gotta get to this farm early. The deer are gonna get on their feet early. It's just gonna be a great night for deer movement. I leave the house super early in the day, get a set hung quietly, and not disturb any of these deer. I've been getting sporadic pictures of him either on the north side or the south side, hanging the scrape on the east side. I have a west wind tonight. The wind's blowing hard. I know I can access the spot remaining completely undetected. I just have to take my time, and if I get in there, I'm gonna have a good shot at seeing this buck. So I make my way into this spot. There is not an ideal tree, not a tree that I would be super pumped about. I find a cedar tree that I trim out, and I can reach the top of the stand when I get it hung. I might be 6-7 feet off the ground. Not ideal, but I feel like I have a perfect amount of cover to get the job done. So another factor I had to keep in mind is I had to do a substantial amount of trimming. Thankfully, I brought a pole saw with me, cleared out some great lanes. I had that cover sound from the wind just ripping, was just perfect. I was able to get some lanes cleared, get all phased up, make sure I'm completely scent free, and I'm ready to hunt at this point. So it's early now. I got the first group of does heading out to the field. They're coming from my west, working east. Behind me, I have a great big cut cornfield. So I know this is where the deer are heading. They're gonna work their way through the beans and walk straight in front of me, cut into the cut cornfield. These does walk by, I remain undetected. I'm pretty excited at this point knowing that, you know, my hanging bang setup worked. These deer didn't have a clue that I was there. My wind's perfect. I'm just soaking it in, having the time of my life, just hanging onto the tree for dear life. There were some pretty wicked gusts with that wind. I have high hopes to see this deer tonight. So there's a lot of time left in this evening's sit. I'm just glassing, looking around, checking the field out, and I see a deer lift his head up, and there he is, the big 11. So at this point, I already got the nerves going. This deer's 140, 150 yards away. He's way bigger than I thought he was. And I'm just glassing him, making sure I have some ranges picked out. So I know this buck's only gonna hang out in the staging bean field for a little while before he makes his way to the cut corn. So I watch him for what feels like eternity. He's doing his thing, hanging out around 150 yards away from me. He's super relaxed with this wind speed. He's easing closer at this point. Finally, he starts walking at a steady pace. He gets to 39 yards at one point, and there's a bunch of corn in front of me. He's so close. I don't have a shot at this point. I'm just gonna wait for him to walk away from me and try to make a shot at the last second. So I pick out a spot, I stop him, steady my pin, and I make the shot. I hit him a little bit high, he goes down. At this point, all the emotions are flooding. I just killed my biggest Iowa buck to date, and I am on absolute cloud nine. So I call everybody up, I'm super excited, and climb down and walk up to this deer. He's everything I could ever ask for in a whitetail. Big, mature buck, just massive, like just a deer you dream about. And this is the reason why I moved to Iowa 5 years ago. And he's way bigger than I thought he was. An absolute magnum of a buck. Carries his mass just amazing, all the way around his beams. He's got massive mass measurements between his 2s and his 3s. Great main beams, just everything you could ask for in a whitetail. Truly remarkable animal. I'm just so excited to wrap my tag around this Iowa buck. So the first real key to the hunt was staying out of there and waiting for all the stars to align. You know, I knew I had this massive cold front coming in. Mature buck movement was incredibly slow. When you get a temperature drop like that, you know those big deer are gonna be on their feet. I waited for a perfect wind and I made it count. You know, just waiting for those stars to align makes such a big difference. So another key was knowing, hey, I need to get into this interior bean field. I got a great wind for it. I didn't get too aggressive. I decided to stay back. And then if I didn't get a shot opportunity on him, I knew my access was gonna be good to get out of there without bumping him. So another key to this hunt was knowing this farm like the back of my hand. I spent a lot of time on it in 2022, those summer months, really trying to figure out how these deer traveled this farm, how they fed on it, you know, what they did throughout the season here. I feel like if I didn't put all this time and effort into this piece, this wouldn't have came together. Don't live and die by your trail cameras. Just because you're not getting a deer on camera every single night doesn't mean you don't need to be out there hunting somewhere. I have 5 trail cameras on this 1.5 acre bean field, and he managed to dodge every single one of them. So for all I know, this buck could have been doing the same thing every night and he was there. So take the information that these trail cameras are giving you, but at the same time, don't let that be your only tool when it comes to your strategy of getting out in the woods, because at the end of the day, you just need to get out and hunt. And on top of that, make sure your scent control is dialed so none of those deer pick you up.
Thanks for watching this Deer Society Hunt Breakdown. Subscribe to the channel for more great educational content to help you become a better hunter. From podcasts to the Art of Deer Hunting series, hunt breakdowns, tips, tactics, and a whole lot more. The Deer Society is all about deer hunting education.